Alright, we have not touched this game in like 2 years, which is crazy to me. I played Great Ace Attorney 1 like in like 2023, I think, or something, which is kind of wild. I took a 2-year break from this game, which is not as... It's not... I didn't want it to be that long, for lack of a better... Lack of better words, I guess. I can't talk today. I just woke up like a few hours ago, so I'm still kind of out of it. I wanted to play Great Ace Attorney 2 last year, actually, but I kind of just got sidetracked by a bunch of other games. So, yeah, like Persona 3 Reload took up a lot of my time. And that was originally like the month I was going to play this game was when Reload came out. And then I just kept getting sidetracked by a bunch of games that came out that year. 2024 was just a pretty busy year all around. So, yeah, because that was also the year we ended up having, like, Mario and Luigi Brothership, TTYD Remake, Mario vs. Donkey Kong Remake, so just, like, so many great games coming out in the span of, like, 12 months. And you know I had to prioritize that shit. Damn. Hold on, I need to drink up my tea, which is very topical, because we're playing a game about tea. Okay. So, I'm using my Pro Controller for this. I think when I played this game, I was probably using my PlayStation controller. I honestly don't remember. But yeah, do I select Adventure? Is that what I have to do? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna play Great Ace Attorney 2. We're gonna select a new game, and, we're gonna see how this goes.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean, those days in London seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital.
Man, I wish I could produce an accent that thick.
You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer. I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court. Forgive me for taking so long to come to visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned. And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
Uh-oh.
So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer. So please, I ask for your guidance. Kazuma-sama.
I forgot how good the frickin' music in this game is. You know I have it on my playlist. The Adventure of the Blossoming Attorney. By the way, I've heard this game is even better than the first one. I mean, I think that's just kind of like a given. Most times the sequels are better. Supreme Court of Judicature Defendants Antechamber 3. So I'm trying to remember if I press A to confirm or B. I think it's just A. Well, time to offend everybody with my terrible British accents. Here I am again after 9 months, the Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. Oh, good, you're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late.
Oh, yes. Good morning, sir.
I hardly recognize you. You cut a fine figure, Counsel. But you look as white as a sheet, and those white eyes aren't doing you any favors either.
Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous. I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish that I'd never been born.
Goodness, not the sort of a thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say.
Eugen Mikotoba, Professor of Medicine at the Imperial Yume University.
Not gonna lie, I kinda need the recap, honestly.
A man who early in his life traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And of course, my brilliant father.
Excuse me. Oh, it's a little lady.
Would I be correct in thinking that you're to be my lawyer in court today? Oh, yes, that's right, miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life.
I don't think everybody's gonna be British. We're in Japan.
It's a complete fabrication, this whole thing. Ray Mombabi, born the same year as I, and my greatest friend. Though unusual for a woman on our time, she works at the University Research Laboratory, helping my father. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial, accused of committing a truly awful murder. Are you feeling alright? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to become a little flushed. Oh, my, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing. Sorry. And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful.
They have a thing for each other, huh?
Goodness, I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am.
Ha ha ha! It would seem our little plan for this trial is going to work.
Oh, what do you mean, Professor Mikotoba?
If even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we can relax.
Disguise? Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. But this does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Father? What? Is that you, Susato? I'm so sorry I didn't say anything sooner, Ray. It's just that... No! What are you doing? What's going on? What? That varsity uniform, that varsity cap, that varsity badge.
Alright, oh, I can't talk again.
Look at you. You look, for all the world, just like a student of the Imperial Yume University, a male student. I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see...
It was the only way. The only way she'd be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial.
My defense? Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born into this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom. Despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you'd go to such lengths for me? Of course, you're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. Oh no, I have complete faith in you. Ray. It's so strange though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already. And yet, just because you're a woman, what a wretched reason. I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. Ray, please don't look at me like that, with those flushed cheeks and doting eyes. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just, you really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice.
Yeah, you should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man.
I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. Ray, you're managing to put on a brave face in all this, but I can see through it. I've noticed how your shoulders are slumped and how you're trembling ever so slightly. Sato, you do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence. Which is why I'll stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side. Because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. That means so much to me, Susato.
Defendant, counsel. Court's about to begin. Please proceed to the courtroom at once. You should go in at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty.
Oh. Stand aside! I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast.
Well, Susato, you've certainly surprised your father. Going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom, and with no prior experience of being a lawyer.
There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. But father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this.
Yes, quite right. I've kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. I didn't want to burn her with that.
And is it true? The reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was?
Well, we should be making a move now, too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I'll do what I can to support my student.
Thank you, Father. I'm Susato Mikotoba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain. But 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times have I wished that he were here, I wonder? Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san.
Alright, well, it's our first case. And I'm probably gonna suck butt at it, but well, who knows. There's only like a few times in the first game where I really feel like I could not figure that out for the life of me, and I had to look up a guide. This court's now in session to hear the trial of Ray Mambabi.
The prosecution's fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency.
Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency, we are ready.
Ready.
Ah, yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, Ryutaro Naruhodo, is that correct?
Sorry?
Oh yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little venture. So I'm afraid to say I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind. Well, counsel?
Oh, yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I'm Ryutaro. He who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo clan.
Ah. It seems Ryotaro may need to consider how better to uphold his manly act first and not overdo it. And those wild, wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen.
Naruhodo?
A fresh face in the courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be...
You may be thinking of Ryonosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as a part of a study program. This is,
His cousin.
That's right. Ryotaro here has been studying in the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any Tokyo's preeminent lawyers.
Any of them.
Tut-tut-tut. What a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has had call to a country boy.
How dare you! Suzaru's every bit as gallant and dashing as any of your Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you making fun of her.
Her?
Oh, please be careful, Ray.
What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His wide, skittish eyes very much suggest that he's not.
I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, Aiza won't flit.
Wait, right? Is that... Oh, eyes are wont to flit. I can't read it, still. The case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may very well affect the very future of our empire.
Just like the trial 9 months ago. And yet for proceedings of such importance, we have this unknown yokel by the dock. Dear me.
Huh. Perhaps this would be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense, to determine whether you're sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom. 9 months ago, when a certain other Naruhodo stood where you're standing now... he had a freaky look on his face. This same judge tested him as well. And even though he was just a student at the time, not even law, he passed the test with flying colors. Really glad they used the British spelling for everything. That makes me feel more at home, honestly. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions?
Alright, it's time to prove myself. Yes, Your Excellency, but please do make them simple.
Very well. To start with, you will state the name of the victim.
Oh, that's simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried.
What's the matter?
Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else now Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, mine's wont to blank.
It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position, and in that guise. Even a bright spark like you's bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances.
Oh dear, this is a dismal failure.
Don't fret. You may only need to use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem.
Of course, the court record. Yes, the answer will be amongst all the key information about the case in the court record.
That's right. Just use the right bumper to open the court record. Then you need to flip to the people section with RB. And don't take too long over it. His Excellency is watching you closely.
Alright, check the court record with RB. That's where the information I need will be.
I'm waiting, Counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case? Alright, well... I saw it a second ago. fucking Giselle Brett from the last game. What the hell? Oh yeah, just way to spoil it for anybody who didn't play the first game. 9 months ago, she was found guilty of the murder of visiting Professor Dr. John Wilson. Who, by the way, is, isn't that fucking, shit, I forgot her name. His daughter, who's also in the care of Herlock Sholmes. See, the thing is I know them by their Japanese name, which is Watson, not Wilson. Because I've been on Pixel a little too much. You know, why don't we read these real quick? Yujin Miko Toba, a medical school professor at the Imperial Yume University. He's an authority in forensic medicine in charge of the university's laboratory. He also happens to be my father. See, it's nice hearing it from Susato's perspective. Rei Mbami, my best friend, who works as an assistant to my father in his laboratory at the Imperial Yume University. Or I guess we could start calling it like the IYU or something to make it short. She's the defendant in this case. Alright, read that. The lead prosecutor of this case, who appears to be struggling to accept the changes afoot as a result of these turbulent new times in Japan in the Meiji era. So it's, Takesuchi Ouchi. Yeah, he's the victim, obviously.
Yes!
I love that she's doing the same shit that he did in the start of the game.
The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Giselle Brett. Giselle Brett?
A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. Oh, I fucking know why. It's because she was British. And, like, killing a British person on Japan's soil is, like, probably, like, the biggest offense you can do in this era. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why, then, is her name inevitably associated with our own empire's judicial history? Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago. But if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record.
Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett. Behind the woman's student persona was the face of...
a killer? Well, I don't know, let me look. Time of death just after 2 p.m. Death is believed to be due to a trauma to the victim's lung from a blade. Only a single wound was identified. Anything else? Single deep stab wound from behind. Knowing my Ace Attorney, that's probably going to be important. There's going to be some guy that says, like, she was stabbed multiple times, and then I'm going to be like, no, you dumbass, she was only stabbed once. Also, I'm out of tea already. This is truly sad. Death would have occurred within minutes. So that's probably also important. Extreme meiosis, pupil constriction was observed in the victim in both eyes. What was she? Wasn't she a killer? She was the face... I don't know. Because she was a killer. She was a killer and a victim, I guess, right? Let me just double check. I mean, she's both. But I'll try this, see what happens.
A victim, obviously.
The victim's role's already taken, Counsel, as you should know.
That answer came in with such misguided confidence, I was almost taken in.
I thought it sounded a little odd. Leave me out of this. Check the cult record and find the correct answer in the question of Miss Brett's true identity. You'll find it in the people section. Oh, I'm stupid. Yeah, I am stupid. Wait, what does it say about it? Oh yeah, well she was guilty too. Because she was killed and she... Yeah, I don't know. That's what confused me, because she's a victim and a murderer. As confusing as that is. That won't do, Counsel. Amend your answer before we have any more victims to contend with.
Yeah, yes, of course, Your Excellency.
Alright, so she's the killer.
Yes!
I always overthink things in these games, which is, you know, obviously a bit problematic.
9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University was killed. And the culprit was Giselle Brett.
Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain. And it was in the midst of this delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, I keep calling him Watson, bro, because that's his fucking Japanese name, was shot dead. I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikitoba. Oh wait, who's talking here then? Is that the judge talking? Yes, I was indebted to the man. He'd been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. See, I fucking knew it. I remembered that. Indeed it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial Yume University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, the student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense. Rest in peace, Kazuma. And exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Giselle Brett. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion. I swear, I'm gonna probably keep accidentally calling him Dr. Watson.
Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play.
Consular? What is that word? It probably has something to do with council. I'm stupid. There's a lot of words I've actually learned from this game, funnily enough.
We are unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our Empire's laws. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead.
Shanghai, China. Well then how the fuck did she die here? Why Shanghai? There's a British consular court there. What, did China just not give a shit about the laws or something? Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. All that remained of our Empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board a steamship.
And yet, the very day before her departure, the Englishwoman was killed.
Only the day before?
That will do. I'm satisfied that the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant.
Oh. Thank you, Your Excellency. Over the first hurdle.
Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Ouchie.
As is your wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place on the 11th August in broad daylight. On the outskirts of the Imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, at a secluded bathing spot by the sea. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes.
Or bathers, not bathers.
The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung, an injury which proved fatal. There were two persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Miss Brett, in her bathing attire, and the accused, Ray Mbami. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady.
It's starting to sound like my Monokuma voice a little bit. Well, that extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say.
That's certainly true. The prosecution's summary was full of words that raised an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about
the bathing spot. Well, yeah, the powerful motive, obviously.
You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement.
Is the yokel boy using long words he doesn't fully understand?
I beg your pardon.
No matter. Let us put this to the accused, shall we? Nimbami-san, you're a researcher assistant at the IYU, I believe?
Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikatoba in his laboratory at the moment.
I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility.
Fascinating to hear. Now, another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikatoba, whose research were you assisting then?
Oh, well, I was studying under Dr. John H. Wilson.
Dr. Wilson? The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago? Oh yeah, that is a good motive, actually. Shit.
The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true?
Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man.
Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the Englishwoman who killed him.
Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she'd done. A powerful hatred. Oh no. Ray, be careful what you're saying. Oh.
The motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency.
Well, it was clearly a trap all along.
How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for her former mentor against her like that. I must find out more details, and something we can use to bolster our defense. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about...
being alone together?
Mambami-san. Yes, what is it? Naruhodo-san. I'm really starting to wish we'd made my alias Ryutaro Susato. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place. And why you were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present. A detective who was guarding Miss Brett, for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all.
But let us be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. The truth is, there is only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life.
No.
Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai.
I need to look up what that word means real quick. That's like, how many words have I learned? Extradited. Extradited? Yeah, I think so. To give up or deliver a fugitive to the legal jurisdiction of another government or authority. Well, extradition is easy to say, but is it extradite or extradite? Extradited? I don't fucking know. Extradited sounds correct to me.
And the accused would never have an opportunity to dispatch her again.
I like how it's displaying the Xbox like buttons, but I'm actually using a Pro controller. It's just that This game doesn't have Pro Controller support on Steam, so it pops up as Xbox buttons, which is fine. Thankfully I have the buttons reversed, so, you know, Y is X and X is Y and so.
Kindly refrain from conjecture, Counsel.
The Prosecution Council seems to enjoy using provocative tricks like that. But for now at least, we need to assemble more facts. Try not to let them get you.
Oh dear, this is really terrifying. But Father's right, we need more information. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the Prosecution Counsel on what he said about
The bathing spot.
If I may, Prosecutor Ouchie.
What do you want, you fresh-faced young yokel student?
I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot.
Ha! My apologies. Clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. We were told that bathing in the water of the ocean is a curative, therapeutic, and excellent for the skin's...
No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea?
For old time's sake, I believe.
Sorry.
Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day on our country's wonderful coast. And the British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply.
But on what grounds would we agree to such a request?
Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal.
Don't look at me, Professor. It was the government who granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong.
I wonder who that detective is.
But in fact, a murder took place.
I said don't look at me. It was the young student girl who did it, not I.
No one has proved that yet.
I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to. I believe we've all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett managed to avoid incarceration, instead continuing her research work at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions.
Seeing the murder of a mentor for whom she had such great respect enjoying such undeserved liberty.
Yes, even if it was only temporary until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai. You can hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment.
Poor Ray.
So, Your Excellency, if you'd be so kind as to peruse this exhibit, a photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident.
Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image.
As you can clearly see, there's nowhere within the hut that anyone could have hidden.
The court will accept this photographic print as evidence.
We got the photographic print.
I always forget that. I kind of forgot that you start out the game with, like, black and white, because Japan is far behind in, like... This is, like, we're so far back in Japan's history that, like, they don't know how to do color photos yet. So, yeah. A photographic print of the scene taken by police just after the incident occurred. The stab wound in the victim's back is clearly visible. I mean, as clear as it can be in a white and black image, I guess. As I understand it then, the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant.
Well, Your Excellency, naturally the prosecution has much more to its case. We intend to prove the accused's appalling actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime, and damning evidence.
Witnesses? But who?
One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective. I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt.
Very well then, Counsel. I bring forth your witness. Is it going to be somebody I know?
I, Takasuchi Aochi, have been waiting for this moment.
Sorry?
Oh yes, I haven't forgotten. That trial 9 months ago, here in this very courthouse. When that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated me. Ah! Ryonosuke Naruhodo.
Yes?
This insult to the Aochi family name will never be forgotten.
You've become conceited with age, Counsel, but the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that.
My hair! Strike the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut, and the bell of cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died.
The start of your own Meiji revolution? Are you modernizing as well, Counsel?
Silence! Since I saw revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the Aochi growth. You see? You see this seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown?
I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. I'm afraid I can't really see where is the hope exactly?
I said silence! Today I face another yokel student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you. And my victory will be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You've been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand.
Looks like the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. The prosecution and defense each have much to lose.
A haircut's hardly comparable to Ray's life.
Oh, I remember these guys. I think.
Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected. Yo, I forgot about this guy. Yeah, he was in the first two cases. And I am, well, the next big thing in books. An author renowned throughout the capital. In fact, yes. Wait, wasn't this guy, like, the defendant in, like, one of the cases? I think he was in, like, case 4 or something. Soon to be sold out, the satirical I Am a Cat, a sensational success, by Sosoki Natsume.
Oh my goodness.
Struggling student from the provinces, please. You needn't be in awe of me.
I needn't?
If it's only natural you feel nervous in my presence, but all of you, please relax. Call me Soseki, even. I don't remember what voice I gave him, honestly. I'm just gonna make up something.
Yes. What on earth is Soseki-san doing here?
Tread carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this'll never be over before it's begun.
Yes, of course, I know. I presume Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I could certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so that it's been since I last saw him. And as for Inspector Hosonaga, that amazing outfit is hard to believe.
Do I have something on my face?
Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either.
Ah, I suppose it's this disguise, isn't it? I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for a more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present. But what business did a writer such as yourself have being at the scene, Soseki-san? You see, I had been asked that day to give a lecture. On the morning of the incident, in the Imperial Yume University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less.
At Yume University?
After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. The professor over there, in fact.
With Professor Migatoba?
Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about two former students who studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. They secretly spy, snapshots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it all at your leisure. My provincial struggling student friend, I have plenty of copies.
Thank you very much. He practically threw that paper at me.
The Soseki Natsume article has been added. A newspaper containing an article about a discussion between my father and Soseki-san. The debate has become quite spirited. Anyway, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words. As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory under strict surveillance, of course.
At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance. And the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as a detective accompanies her.
That detective I'm at liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga.
Thereby, the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems.
It was extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach. But fortunately, I'm at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly.
Oh my, Inspector, you... Well, you do have something on your face now.
Oh, how unsightly. I do apologize.
Does that mean you went to the beach too, Father?
No, unfortunately I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course, it meant that, as my assistant, Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. But all if I had, I'd never have seen that awful sight. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret. Very well, I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You'll give an account of all you witnessed on your impromptu excursion on the coast. Of course, Your Excellency. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret, I am. Witness testimony, baby. The witnessed scene. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. I had just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me. I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question. Yes, that young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, as she stabbed wildly. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times. That's fucking cap already, bro. She was stabbed once. Indeed, it does appear from this testimony that both witnesses here present saw it. The very moment of this heinous crime.
What?
Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well.
Oh, can I just double check that? Make sure I'm not, like, fucking around? Single deep stab wound. Yeah. That's, I'm pretty sure that's gonna come in handy.
What phrase did I use again? Ah, yes, that was it. Damning evidence.
What have you there, Counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it? Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that in her dying moments, with her final ounce of strength, The victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer. Didn't Giselle Brett have like a shit ton of like spy weapons or whatever? So I'm assuming that pen is actually like a dagger or something. What?
Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over to the photographic print of the crime scene once more.
Ah, goodness me. Yes, the victim's clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand. That's right, the fountain pen. And if you'd kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency. Ah, the owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Ray Membami. The initials of the defendant.
Ah, no!
Look at their fucking goofy ass outfits. The fountain pen will be admitted immediately as critical evidence. I mean, that could be anybody though. Like, what if there's some other person that has RM as their initials?
So, have I omitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence? There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel.
He's not looking so good.
I don't understand. The prosecutor ouchie of 9 months ago had none of this man's poise.
Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Naruhodo-san!
Naruhodo. That means... Oh, yes, me.
Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom?
Actually, there isn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom.
Cousin Ryotaro, pull yourself together, please.
Alright, I've seen this countless times with the judicial assistant. Find inconsistencies in the witnesses' testimonies to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I can do.
The witnessed scene. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on... Okay, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Let's press.
Hold it!
In that jaunty disguise?
Correct. Wait, no. I mean, it wasn't the first time I've worn this swimsuit for a dip in the ocean. I tried and tested. Do what must be done to keep the Englishwoman under surveillance. Those were my orders that day.
And this tried and tested outfit was the answer?
Being able to blend flawlessly into a crowd is an important job of a detective. I submerged myself in the salty water, leaving only Mr. Turtle floating inconspicuously on the surface. Mr. Turtle loves the water.
But there was no need for you to blend into the background on this assignment, really, was there?
If that made you late arriving on the scene, I think perhaps you had your priorities wrong.
Perhaps I shouldn't pursue this line of questioning any further.
Oops, wrong button.
Hold it!
You're describing the victim's scream, presumably, Soseki-san?
In more literary terms, you might say it was a scream that could have pierced the heavens. Or the like. Of course, that's just a metaphor. We renowned authors won't to describing things so.
Soseki-san wasn't at all like this in England.
Anyway, I spun around at the noise and the beach hut immediately fell under my gaze.
Yes, the beach hut.
The area is popular with government ministers. Many have seaside retreats there for rest and recuperation. Locals are prohibited from entering the area, so it's always very quiet. The beach hut is a simple structure, erected as a place for people to change or take refuge from the sun. Although, the Englishwoman commandeered the hut for herself, which meant that I was forced to change to my swimmer on the sand.
Oh, I imagine that was rather embarrassing for you.
Well, anyway, I tossed the crowd aside and headed for the beach hut at a run. Or, in more literary terms, I decrabbed and beetled off Whatwise. I ran to the beach.
Wait, by pair, you don't mean to say... But how could that be?
No, you misunderstand. Obviously, I mean the victim and the defendant, Raymond Bami-san. I mean, that's what I thought.
Oh, it would have been helpful if you could have just said that from the outset.
If you jump to conclusions, you have to expect to fall flat on your face sometimes.
Dear me, pinning your hopes on such an outside chance. Foolish. Very foolish.
It really was an outside chance. I just wish I'd realized that before I said something silly.
So, Inspector, why don't you tell the court how exactly you found the aforementioned pair in the hut?
Well, it was a sorry sight. A really grisly scene. I parted the Norrin curtain hanging in the doorway and stepped inside, only to see the defendant leaving menacingly over the lifeless body of the victim sprawling on the sand. My glasses very nearly cracked at the ominous sight that met my eyes.
How thoroughly appalling.
Doesn't appear to be lying here. Well, Sasaki-san, can you confirm what Inspector Hosanaga's saying, I wonder?
You like a literally man's opinion?
Hold it!
Stabbed wildly? You actually saw her do it?
Oh, indeed. The terrible spectre, the terrapin inspector, the bloody torrent, the author's torment. Every sight and every sound is still carved in my melancholy memory. That was my impression, at least, as a future literary sensation.
Counsel, what on earth was that shrill, effeminate scream?
Oh, no. No, what are you insinuating? I'm as manly as a Japanese man as you.
I wonder if I might interject here, Sasaki-san. Something you said is troubling me. That was my impression, your words just now, I believe.
So, do you mean to say you're not confident that you really did see what you described?
No! I mean, yes! I mean, I know what I saw! My ears didn't deceive me when I heard that scream, hence my eyes didn't deceive me either. I could describe everything I saw vividly. I could publish it all in tomorrow's newspaper serial. He's still doing that dumbass pose.
It sounds as though the next installment of I'm a Cat may take a macabre turn.
I think this is a fool's errand. The more we press your author friend on what he saw, the more entrenched he's going to become.
Oh dear, how awkward.
This is the one I'm going to present on.
Hold it!
But I'm going to press it anyways, because I like fluff.
She was stabbed multiple times? How can you be sure of that?
Very simply, from the blood on the blade.
The blood?
When I entered the hut, I saw the defendant holding the blade, raised up in the air. Yes, that's right, I saw it too!
Oh.
And I noted there was blood on the blade already at that point. In other words, the victim had already been stabbed at least once by the time I arrived on the scene. Yes, that's right! I saw it too! And the victim was already holding the defendant's fountain pen in her hand too. All of which means I can be sure the victim did not die instantly. Yes, that's right! I saw it too!
Maybe a year in London was too much for him. He sounds like he's forgotten how to speak Japanese.
The logic of your argument is sound, at least. Well, as I said, it's my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly.
Perhaps it should have been your guiding principle to protect the victim flawlessly. That's just my personal opinion, of course.
Counsel, you'll refrain from mocking the witness.
Oh no, I just have so many thoughts whirling around in my head. It's all I can do to stand here, wide-eyed and mute.
Goodness, my dear, you really must try to calm down.
But how am I supposed to find an inconsistency what those two gentlemen are saying? I don't see why either of them would have any reason to lie.
What you must remember, I think, is that the witnesses may inadvertently lie at times. For various reasons. A misunderstanding, a mistaken observation, a delusion even.
Ah, a delusion.
What's important is that we determine the truth, and there can only be one way to do that.
Yes, with evidence, of course.
Spoken like a true judicial assistant. During witness testimony, blah 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 blah, we know. So you need to listen carefully to each statement and compare what's said to the details of the court record. If you find some conflicting information, that may be the inconsistency you're looking for.
Yes, it's all about inconsistencies.
Once you've identified a witness's statement that appears to conflict with a piece of evidence, present the evidence to the witness with... Yeah, okay, I get it.
Yes, alright then. I'll consider the details of all the evidence in the court record against each statement to find an inconsistency. I hope I'm up to the task.
Don't forget that you can have the witnesses repeat their statements as many times as you like. Everyone has to start at the beginning, remember? So those wide eyes are quite forgivable. And besides, there's no one else to defend the poor girl.
You're right. I need to listen to the testimony again from the start.
Alright, well, I already know what statement to do it on. We just gotta present the, post-mortem report.
Objection!
With that accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside me, I think I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-san and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed.
What's the meaning of that menacing pose, Counsel?
I'd like the witness to clarify something for me.
Huh? Who? What? Where? When? How?
Not you, Saseki-san. The query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga.
At me?
In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times.
Yes, that is correct. As I said when I entered the hut, the defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon.
And yet, that cannot be.
Huh, what? Get to the point, please, Counsel.
In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed one time only.
Oh!
In other words, Inspector Hosanaga's testimony is clearly flawed.
Oh!
And Soseki-san,
Me?
you claim to have seen Membami-san in the throes of the stabbing the victim.
Yes, I did. Wildly.
But both of you and the inspector confirmed the same point. That there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding.
Yes, and?
It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once. Therefore, there's no other way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred.
True. Then what exactly is your contention, Counsel? Are you going to tell us?
Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Soseki saw, in fact, was not the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant, in fact, withdrew the blade from the victim's body.
That can't be! Excellent work, Sasato. You exploded at them without objection, and then proceed to pull them apart systematically.
Well, well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection attempting to steal the show.
Like Joker. You're right. There were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who is only half a head of hair.
Slander! My head is quite adequately dressed. In any case, all this talk of stabbing with drawing multiple wounds, it makes not a jot of difference.
What? Why not?
Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment that she had just withdrawn the blade, ready for her next strike, that the witnesses saw. The knife had already tainted with blood, because the accused had already stabbed the victim.
Oh.
All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustached author is prone to moments of extravagance.
I'm in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her action to be viewed with suspicion.
But if she was withdrawing the blade...
Then we are back where we started.
Sorry.
Consider this, young yokel boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim? And with a demon's cold-blooded composure, too. The prosecution demands an explanation, and it better be good.
Why did Ray pull out the knife?
Ah, yes. Going for the jugular.
What does Father mean by that?
Let the court hear answer then, counsel.
The truth is, I don't really know. But I have to come up with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could...
hide the knife? It's either hide the knife or save her life. Probably hide the knife, right? Well, let's try that.
I think it was possibly so that she could hide the murder weapon.
And yet the murder weapon was left there, thrust into the sand at the scene.
Having pulled the knife from the victim, she couldn't find a place to hide it. So that was her only option, perhaps?
I think you're a dumbass. Yeah, okay. Fucked up.
Oh dear, I'm terribly sorry.
Well, maybe she wanted to save her, I don't know.
This job is not to be taken lightly. There's just so much pressure.
Just because you're under pressure doesn't mean you can say the first thing that comes in your head.
I'd like to revise my answer, Your Excellency.
Save her life?
According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant.
That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury. Oh, I guess probably because they could have given her, like, medical treatment or something then, right? I guess that makes sense.
Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates the killer.
The point is, being a medical research assistant, Membami-san was compelled to act when she was faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life.
Oh, yo, what if this is like a classic framing incident? What if, like, she was already stabbed by somebody else, and she helped her out by pulling the knife out? That's probably what's happening here.
Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect of this young yokel.
Indeed.
To just me, does it feel much colder in here?
Your Excellency, if I may? Speak, witness. I would like another opportunity to testify. In respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the Yokel Defense Council, I mean.
Slipshod?
An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel helpful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of a common sense.
Very well, Inspector. I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the Defense Council's assertion. Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly. Forensic Medicine Primer. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. Well, yeah, that's not rocket science or anything. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. We're gonna have to do a lot of pressing.
Is what you said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily?
Well, duh, it's been the case in every other game. Yes, think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed. That's what I'd thought.
Oh, I see.
This is why yokels should stay on the farm. Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have this basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever been given such a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it.
I can't say there's many people like that.
Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so...
Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit.
Father, is it true that what they're telling me?
Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge for medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways.
But then, why would Ray have done it? Could she have pulled out that knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett?
I don't know.
Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but... could my friend actually have...
Susato.
Yes?
Pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here. Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination.
Oh, yes, Your Excellency.
However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issue with the established facts, I will be moving to my adjudication immediately afterwards.
I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it'd be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard.
By the way, out of curiosity, are there any options that I should fuck around with? What's wait time? Oh yeah, I should probably lower the wait time on this, man. High transparency? Oh yeah, why don't I have it on high transparency? Probably turn off text skip, maybe. I have it on borderless, vertical syncs on. Just making sure I know all of these. I forgot about story mode. You know, let's make a save. Oh wow, look at all these, like, saves I have. Wow, check this shit out, man. Look how many freaking save files I have. Naruhodo's legal consultancy. Alright, I just wanted to make sure I, you know, did all that. Yeah, actually, that kind of does look a lot nicer. I'm not sure why I didn't have that on.
Hold it!
You say doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean that if you use due care and attention, it'd be alright? I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out, really, but... The blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it, and a serious hemorrhage would occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it. Oh, well, thank you for such a thorough explanation.
You see, Counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is a bloodbath.
Back to the witness testimony, please.
Hold it!
In that case, there's an obvious explanation here.
Which is...
Clearly, the defendant, Rei Membami-san, does not possess an ounce of sense.
What do you think about that, Professor Mikotoba? I'm not sure that you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense.
Well, I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer.
I don't know, young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it.
Careful, Counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing.
Oh dear, that recoiled on me rather badly.
That's life, I'm afraid. A lesson everyone must learn. Hopefully you can see now that this is really basic medical knowledge. Being involved in medical research, Membami-san would certainly have been aware of it. I need to take a quick drink break, man. Doing voice acting for like an hour on end is like pretty tiresome, not gonna lie. I mean, this juice is just so good, dude. Hold on, I'm gonna sip some more, actually. Okay. Much better. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that young... Oh, wait, why am I not reading these, bro?
Hold it!
I'm not pressing these. I got kind of enraptured.
But the defendant had suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground bleeding to death. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would behave so irrationally. Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it?
Oh dear. You have a lot to learn about women. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views.
Oh dear. Perhaps I'm letting my male persona take a hold a little too much.
Well, have I managed to convey the basics now? That should cover the medical side of the argument.
Hold it!
Whatever the motive, it just isn't in Membami-san's nature to do something so awful.
But she had both motive and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against.
But you don't know the defendant.
And you, Counsel, do not appear to know the law.
Damn, nice comeback. Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings.
With this fledgling to defend her, I would almost say I pity the accused.
So do I.
Inspector, you'll reiterate your point about the defendant's motive, please. Ah, yes. Miss Brett was in many ways the sworn enemy of Membami-san. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor.
Hold it!
Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Mimami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant, despite her being a woman. She was extremely grateful to him.
Yes, the Englishman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Mimami-san's abilities. Clearly, the defendant was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my point.
This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If Ray knew that withdrawing the blade from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further, I just can't think of any other way to explain why she did it.
Susato, it's at times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals.
The fundamentals?
Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it?
Of course. But I've been through the court record dozens of times already.
I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You needn't take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail, too. Yeah, I've not examined the pen yet, have I?
Ah.
I realize this is your first time playing the role of lawyer in the courtroom. So if you need reminding of the rudiments, you need only ask. I'll do my very best to help.
Examine the evidence in the court record? It's an idea, certainly. I mean, why not, right? Yes, Father. Spot and guidance is what I need.
I think that might be overdoing it slightly, but... Very well. So, open the court record first of all. Now, let's take a look at that fountain pen which submitted evidence most recently. Simply press A to examine it further, that's all there is to it. Yes. Oh, wait, wrong voice.
Yes, the initials RM. There they are, clearly engraved on the barrel.
Alright, you can look at evidence. You should have a good look at everything to make sure you haven't missed any clues.
Yes, I will.
What about, like, the back side of the pen? Like, whatever this is?
There's some sort of emblem here, look. But it isn't a Yumi University one.
It must belong to some other organization, I suppose. A business of some kind. But that would seem to imply that the pen doesn't, in fact, belong to Ray. Ah. So can we use that somehow? Well, what statement would I press on, then? Well, can I look? Maybe I can look at the, maybe I can look at the pen some more.
If we take off the pen's lid...
Oh, what's this? What do you mean nothing appears out of the ordinary?
Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we?
Aw. Keep looking at it, I guess.
This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink.
Yes, you fill it in by drawing ink from a bottle up through the nib.
Is something wrong, Father?
Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all.
Oh, yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out of ink, I suppose.
Okay, so there's no ink. There's no ink in there. I've already looked at that. Is that all I can examine? I mean, there's the initials.
The RM initials are very clearly engraved here.
And the fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pen in her dying moments is very clearly a message too.
To identify her killer, you mean?
I don't think there can be any doubt that this is a key piece of evidence in this case. Alright, is there anything else I can examine here? I don't think so. I think that's everything with the pen. Just kind of looking around. Yeah, all check marks. Is there anything else to examine? Like the article? Oh, we did not look at the article yet.
Raucous England returnees tell all. This is the interview with you and Soseki-san, is it, father? It looks as though it was quite an exchange.
Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer might manage to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me in the neck.
I do hope you weren't hurt.
Alright, what else can we examine? Probably the backside, too.
This is the newspaper from Soseki-san. There seems to be an important article on the back page as well. Exclusive deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. From Yume's medical research? Father, isn't that your lab?
What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen?
It's this morning's paper that Soseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know?
As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard of any such thing. Where on earth could the reporter have gleaned this information?
Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning this story in our paper this morning, was there?
It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on in strictest confidence. I put Ray in charge of the project.
Ray? She was managing it?
If what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me. And moreover, the details were leaked somehow.
I don't believe it.
We need to read this article very carefully. Okay. That is pretty important. What else can I examine? I think that's everything, right? Can't look at the side of the paper. What about the photograph? It's just a magnifying glass. I don't think there's anything to actually examine in the photo. So we have a poison article now. Oh wait, yeah, I didn't read this yet. Let's see. Exclusive deadly poison stolen from the research laboratory. Following a lecture at Yume by Soseki Natsume on the 11th of August, it's come to light that a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science laboratory was stolen. Let's see. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. Oh, that's important. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted. Let's see. Onset of symptoms occur in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids and rumored to have been commissioned by the military. So, is there anything mentioning the stabbing wounds? Oops, I didn't mean to do that.
Come to think of it, Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-sama are always turning evidence over and over in their hands. Yes, I need to examine things in greater detail.
Ah, by the look in your eyes, I see it's coming back to you. Go through the court record again and have a thorough look at everything. Yeah, well, that's basically what we did. So I'm assuming we gotta use either the pen or... Not sure. Let me think. There's no reason why... now the question is, what do I what statement do I present it on? Well, there's not much to know about the pen, right? An emblem. There's a small amount of liquid. Oh, what if the... Wait, hang on. What if the pen is the murder weapon? Is that possible? Maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, though. Um... I don't know what statement to do it on, though. That one that one I don't think I need to press. The student... Am I trying to prove that she did not have a motive? Oh, man, I'm not sure, actually. Can I present the... actually, I'll probably make a save before I do this. Because I'm trying to think of, like, what things I could present here. If that's not her... That couldn't be her pen, right? Because it's... Wait, can I examine the pen? Can I examine this again, just to remind what they said? Oh yeah. So maybe this is not her pen then. So could I try presenting the pen then? I'm gonna try it.
Objection!
No, I don't. No, I fucked up. Whoops. Okay, I don't think that. Maybe it's either something to do with the pen or the poison article. I'm not sure. Well, shit. There's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife. I don't know, man. It's the second frickin', like, testimony. I'm already struggling. I can't, no, you can't, like, read that. You just look at it. I'm also wondering if I have to present the frickin' photo at any point. Oh, wait, hang on. No, wait, no. I think I got it. I think I get it. Pull the knife from the victim. It's probably the poison, right? Because the wound needs to be visible for the poison to work, right?
Objection!
Yeah. No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. Oh yeah, fuck yeah, I love this song. What?
Huh! The Yoko not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser. Tell us then, what possibly do you think you've identified?
It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from the laboratory at the Imperial Yume University.
The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance to this case.
But...
Prosecutor Ouchi, you will let the defense speak.
But a newspaper article? The court cannot rely on this kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry.
Counsel for the defense. I'm going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion.
Your Excellency.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Ray would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in this article where it says... I should probably look at it again. Why is the poison being developed? Let's see, something that relates with, like, saving their life, probably. Probably not that. Even the smallest amounts entering the body, either via the mouth or via poison-laced blade, would be proof fail in minutes. The university would have to be consulted. That's a possibility.
Yeah, wasn't she like the leader that day? She was like in charge, so she had to be consulted. I'm just gonna read this one too. I think it's the second page. Why the defendant pulled the knife? Which one's the second page again? Deadly in tiny quantities. I think that's it. Let me try.
The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife-laced wound, or a knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes.
Ah, are you suggesting?
If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Membami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body.
What?
This is a complete and utter nonsense.
Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility.
Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document.
Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold.
Oh, please. This is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of the wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable anyway.
In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for the medical assistant to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense.
Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it, Yoko?
Why did Ray suspect the stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds.
What?
You can't possibly.
From your expression, Counsel, it would appear those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence.
Yes, Your Excellency. I'm well aware of that. I've seen it many times, from my place at his side in the Old Bailey.
In that case, Counsel, you'll present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article? Clear link between the case and the poison? It's a good question, actually. There's still a small amount of ink? It could be the pen. Let me look at this. Is there anything related with poison here, though? I don't know. Oh wait, the extreme meiosis. Yeah.
I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the post-mortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim.
Oh,
Clearly, being a Yoko with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please do tell me. Presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the post-mortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death.
Well...
under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes.
What are you doing, you Yoko detective?
In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, ending with an acute contraction of the pupils prior to death.
What?
If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely,
Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt.
Prosecutor Ouchie, I think you'll agree. This is a very compelling evidence.
Hey, you, yokel student and yokel professor.
I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions.
No.
Eugen Mikotova. Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense's counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it, but I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. You mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say.
Heh, listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of secret stage research from his own workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper?
I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision.
Father,
A pitiful situation for a university professor. You should have more control over your students, rather than allowing them on killing sprees.
that's totally unfounded. None of this is Professor Mikotoba's fault. It's all my fault. Ray,
Membami-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated.
but it was me. I was the one who knows that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day.
What?
So you knew. I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Soseki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was.
Why didn't you let me know immediately?
I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxins somehow have been taken. So I decided I'd try to get back before anyone else found out. It's because I had a very good idea who the thief was. The thief? You don't mean... Yes, of course. It was that dainty Englishwoman.
Miss Giselle Brett?
That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me, as if she knew she was untouchable. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then, she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they shrunk to tiny pinpoints.
I don't believe it. In other words, you realize that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison.
My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her. Which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. On the blade of the knife in her back.
And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade.
Yes, if the amount had entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I had hoped. I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time.
Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you have confessed in the end.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here in this courtroom now.
Nope, shut up, bitch. Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Mimbami-san, if that's the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed.
Well,
You have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Nope, shut up.
well, you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you?
Oh, I have evidence, and it's very much conclusive.
What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it.
You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Prosecutor Ouchi.
Perhaps some praise is due, young yokel student.
What?
I had imagined there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you've brought this on yourself.
Classic prosecutor.
What the? Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air on that beach is almost palpable.
This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature. For it shows the precise moment that Mimbami-san plunged her dagger into the victim's back.
Well, that could also be the moment she took the dagger out, you know?
No, that's not true. No. I don't believe it.
Everybody shut up. Order, order, order! Counsel for the defense, was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom?
Perhaps his voice is yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature.
I'll show you who's slow to mature.
Careful now, Susato's starting to show her face here. It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court will accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence. Cogent? Maybe it's cogent, I don't know. A photographic print taken at the moment the victim was attacked. My friend Ray can be seen kneeling over Miss Brett.
I can't believe he's had a photograph like that up his sleeve the entire time. It's such a stock image. I'm genuinely lost for words. Wait a minute. I don't understand. How did you... I mean, who took that photograph? Ray.
That's no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention.
Oh. That's an absurd thing to say. This is crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony.
I will uphold the defense's demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once.
Oh. Well, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Pardon?
You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters express post by yesterday. But there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown.
Goodness.
Are we to understand then, Counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it for submission to be fit as evidence in the Supreme Court?
When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment. Because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you?
Silence, you yokel student blabbering professor! What matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses.
But the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly, this isn't the moment the knife was being plunged into the victim's back.
But the moment it was withdrawn? Don't waste this course time with your ramblings.
Indeed, without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. And the sense it captures is without a doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear.
Oh no.
Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim.
Yes, we just need to prove that somehow.
You'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on that slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against Takesuchi Aoshi in court of law.
If I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial's going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it.
Well, counsel?
Your Excellency, the burning question is who took that photograph, and the truth is...
do I have the answer? It could be Hosonaga or not. Well, no, Natsume was working. Was it Hosonaga? It's either Hosonaga, maybe it's Aoshi who took it, or in a wild twist, it could be Giselle Brett herself, and that could be a body double. Fuck it.
This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal.
What? No, you can't possibly do that. But as you so boldly claim that you can, please do enlighten us.
Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name.
How utterly underwhelming. Do you really believe you could...
However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity.
Really now?
What?
Also, I really have to pee, so I think I'll be right back. So yeah, give me a sec, guys. Alright, I took my piss, I got a drink, I got everything done that I needed to do. So, that's good. Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mystery photographer? Wait, hang on a second. That's not the knife. That's the pen. Isn't it?
Take that!
That looks like the pen.
The piece of evidence in question is this.
I'm afraid, counsel, that when presenting evidence, you must learn to temper those wide, nervous eyes. I'm gonna fuck you up. Okay, it's not the pen, even though it looks like the pen. Well, maybe it's something related to the pen.
I'll squeeze my head as many times as it takes to win this trial, Your Excellency. May I?
You may present another piece of evidence, but no more squeezing, counsel. Well, shit, I messed up. Alright, I'm gonna make another save. Just in case I fuck up. Alright. Let's see. Crime scene photograph. I mean, it could be, because it has to be evidence. Could be the article. Is there something about a photographer in here? Commissioned by the military. I don't know if that's important at all. So there's that. It's not the pen. Could be this photograph, possibly. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, actually. It could be the article. Like, that's the only thing I could think of. But my question is why, though? Why does it reveal the identity? That's what I'm trying to, like, wrap my head around. I'm just gonna read this again. Following a lecture by Saseki Natsume. Maybe it's the poison? I mean, it's worth a try, right?
Take that!
Oh, no, I fucked up. Okay, it's not that. Save scumming! Okay. So it's not the poison article. Is it the regular article, then?
Take that!
What is that? The newspaper again? I mean, I had a feeling it was the newspaper. I just wasn't sure which one. Raucous England returns tell-all.
It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right side.
Ah, yes indeed. They had already caught my eye as it happens.
What of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably? From the branches of a tree or the like?
There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you.
Now, if you look closely at this photograph...
Bro, I did not even fucking notice that. What the heck? Good gracious. I genuinely did not notice that. It blends in so well. I mean, now imagine trying to figure that out on a 3DS. Good god, I couldn't imagine, jeez.
Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is print on this photograph.
Well, we got the second variation of this song, let's go.
Well, that tells us nothing. Yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree.
There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach council.
Oh.
What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired?
The curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints is a result of,
a camera defect.
Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs.
With the photographic device?
Yes, we can confidently say the camera's lens must be scratched. And that scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device. Wow, that's extremely unprofessional.
In short, the two photographs under the consideration here were taken with the same camera.
But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It will be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one.
I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Ouchie, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article.
A newspaper?
That's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime.
What?
What the fuck was that? I see why you were called a Raucous England returnee.
What are you yelling about? You've already testified.
It's Manimo, I tell you, Manimo. Me? Mo.
Saseki-san, what was that? Did you say Menamemo?
Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoyo News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Raiten Menamemo. Yes, hounding me from my dawn till dusk. I think the only pun I can see with... Wait, I can see it. I can see the pun. Raiten, as in, like, writing, and then, like, memo. There's probably some other pun in there.
Oh, now that he mentions it.
Is it that guy back there?
Could that same reporter be...
A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Raiten Menamemo. So you're saying that this picture was taken by... By Menamemo, yes! My lord, your excellency, Esquire! Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime.
Oh, yes, Your Excellency.
As you say, Your Excellency.
And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood?
Meh. Manamo.
To be continued. Alright, we get a proper save. A proper in-game save. Alright, this is a real save now. Alright. Well... So I guess in the next episode, we will continue the trial, because pretty much every Ace Attorney game... Like, I think, like... I swear the first cases just keep getting longer in every single Phoenix Wright / just Ace Attorney game in general. It's like, in the first game, you can beat the first trial in like 2 hours. But in like Great Ace Attorney, it took me like 6 frickin' hours, bro. It takes so damn long. But I guess that's just kind of how it goes, right? But anyways, guys, thank you for watching Great Ace Attorney 2. This is going to be my new series on the channel alongside Mega Man Powered Up. Kind of funny. I'm doing like 2 Capcom games alongside each other. And also, if you don't count Resident Evil 6, I guess there's that too. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, as always, make sure to like and subscribe to on YouTube and Twitch. And I'll probably just play this game whenever I have free time, I guess. I'm going to mostly do it in the mornings, though, because I kind of got comfortable just doing Great Ace Attorney in the mornings. I don't really... It's not really a, like, evening kind of game for me. I would prefer to do that with, like, Mega Man Powered Up instead. I don't know. I'm weird. I'm weird like that. I have freaking morning games and evening games and shit. So, yeah. Anyways, I will see you guys then.